Their evening meal was just what Kimberly would have expected from a big Italian family. It was loud and fun, filled with great conversation, laughter, and more stories shared between the men, told with some embellishments and much joy. Kimberly noted that they only shared happy and funny stories and left sad times to the silence of the past. When the meal was done, Gabriel and his family went outside on the lower deck, which looked over the lake, and talked together, sipping the last glasses of wine for the evening, continuing to reminisce and laugh and enjoy each other's company. All the while he kept near to Kimberly, and she could feel his eyes on her all throughout the night, and occasionally his touch when he was near her. His fingers brushed her hand, her arm, her back, and when no one noticed, the softness of her feminine curves, which made her cheeks warm and her body desirous of him. They shared secret smiles, and when at last they could get away from the family and retire for the night, their smiles lasted all the way to the side of his bed, where he took her hands in his and looked her in the eyes. "Did you enjoy the time we shared today?" he asked with a hopeful look, raising his hand to touch her cheek and the side of her face. She smiled and turned her face to kiss his palm softly and slowly. "I did. It was the best day I've had in a long, long time." She looked back up at him and saw that his smile had faded and had been replaced with something much different. The underlying current of mutual hunger and desire that had moved around and through them both all afternoon and evening could no longer be ignored or denied. His voice was low and husky as he drew her near and brought his mouth to hers. "I have been waiting all day, all week, for this moment, to have you here in my bed, in my arms, to feel you with me. I need you so much." He covered her mouth with his and kissed her deeply as her breath rushed from her, and she felt suddenly as if she was falling upward, light and dizzy, and she wanted to feel more of it. She kissed him in return with just as much hunger as he was kissing her, and her body ignited with need. She remembered how he had felt when they'd been intimate, how his skin was so smooth and hot against hers, how their sweat had mingled, how he had held her so tightly and filled her until she could barely breathe. She was so overcome with pleasure. She needed him too, and she was going to have him. Their clothes dropped onto the floor swiftly as their desire for one another burned at them, driving them into each other's embraces and into the cool sheets of his bed. He tried to gaze at her form, at her lines and curves. He tried to see all of her that he could, touching her with his hands and his mouth, tracing every part of her that he could. But their desire was too strong, and they'd put it off so long that it would not wait, and both of them gave into it quickly.